Travels of the Ellis Arbor is an audio narrative set in the world of Bastion using 5e compatible characters. Tune in for episode 28. Bound. From early afternoon through evening, the crew had this time to themselves. Still feeling the pangs of their journey through the Hemvala paths, Darian concluded his companions had earned their respite. He encouraged them to stay nearby should anything occur, but they were free to explore to their heart's content. One facet that each member shared: they're all quite antisocial and want to spend their hours tinkering and toying with their belongings. Carpathian and his spellbooks, Edward and his weapons, Nout and his tools, and more were simply content to sit by their side as they did so. Needless to say, few would have trouble seeing why this menagerie of travellers found a common interest in each other. And so, just as they did upon long voyages, the crew set about, each with their own leisure in mind, to enjoy the day and its musings. Thankfully, R'lyeh was happy to allow the use of their rooms and corner booths for their experiments. Likely, the tavern master had heard of their recent influx of funds, and was happy to encourage them to spend a little while they remained in Hemvala. Darian, as always, retired to his private quarters. Knowing their funds would stretch a little further than before, he bought a clear, dark red liquor with a rose-coloured stopper. The nicest wine that R'lyeh could procure. And so, with a clean goblet and a little food, Darian returned to his quiet contemplation. All the while, that nagging, tingling sensation across his face kept his mind occupied. It ebbed and flowed, but felt as unnatural as the exchange they had just witnessed with the wizard Araquiel. As he found his quiet nook, he felt a tiredness come over him that he did not expect. He surmised that the days of travel, being cramped inside a storage crate, must have taken a higher toll than he'd surmised. Eventually, giving in to his physical duress, he scratched at the tingling spot in his face and let himself fall into a late afternoon nap. Comfortable and cool was the windowsill that he leaned against, the brisk wind of the parish lapping gently across the dusty glass. But what came next, for the crew, was less calm and comfortable than their respite had alluded to. Hours drifted by until Darian was jolted awake by a curious phenomenon. He inhaled sharply as his surroundings were much darker and dustier than he'd recalled. The darkness of his room led him to believe he'd slept until sundown, not something the captain was known to do. He woke with a start, coughing loudly as he felt an ashen dust creep into his throat and lungs. He grabbed at the nearby wall for support and felt it slick with a waxy layer of mildew and grime. His senses began to attune to his surroundings, finding himself in a strange and unusual state. The long, rectangular room of the hotel was now much boxier, with a low-hanging ceiling. Though the window he slept at remained in a similar position, he realized that the lack of sunlight was not due to the time he'd been sleeping. Peering through the glass, he noticed glimmers of light dancing from above and across the way to another stone wall. The exterior of the room seemed to curve ever so slightly, creating the appearance of an internal, convex wall. Suddenly, rustling and moaning from the opposite side of the room crept into the captain's ears. He fumbled for his pistol, and gripping it tightly as he focused in the opposite corner. "Who's there? What is this place? Speak quickly before..." His reply was cut short as he noticed a familiar blue coat and the glint of silver spectacles in the darkness. No, wait, it's me, Captain. Gods, that is the last time I tried drinking wine under duress. It wasn't even all that delicious.
Ed? What are you doing here? What in God's name is happening?
I've only woken up, Darian. I don't know what's going on. You're as trapped as I am. Or maybe... Once again, a short reply, as Darian saw the faintest glimmer of red light shining through Ed's goggles.
Oh, but I know exactly what's going on. Didn't I warn you to be wary of that witch?
The immediacy of the shift had Darian on edge. He even raised his pistol hand in defense. Never had the voice within Edward been so quick to take command of the gunsmith.
We're sealed inside Aracriel's tower. Not the one the parishioners claimed, but a building nearby. If I'm not mistaken, the well the tower looks upon is actually her base of operations. When you all succumbed to her magic, I took control of Ed's senses to observe. Only to observe. I can't very well end a sleeping effect on a body that is not my own.
Taking a deep breath, Darian encouraged the voice to continue, all the while holding tightly to the butt of his loaded pistol.
I suspect your friends have been taken elsewhere. You and I, well, Ed, are the only humans of your little band. She seemed to take quite a lot of interest in a gathering of strange individuals. Surely, a myconid, a hobgoblin, and a cyanite have much more to offer than a human. Well, as far as the complexity of your souls are concerned.
Gracefully, Ed's form shifted to the iron door that barred their entry, and waving a hand over its surface, a green seal appeared like a flash of abjurative magic. And as quickly as it appeared, it faded into tiny motes of light. Not dissimilar from the way that Darian had used his amulet to break the seal on the doors of the Pleiades Cathedral. And with a heavy click, Darian assumed that Edward had unlocked the door.
Does it not seem suspicious that we've been magically sealed inside this chamber? I imagine Aracriel had other plans for us. Wouldn't you like to find out? Find the others, perhaps.
This time, Darian held the pistol aloft, not aiming toward Ed, but in a stance that showed his defenses were up.
What reason do you have to help us? And how is it that you know that Aracriel has done this to us? And to that point, how could you know that she's trapped us here?
A slow turn, as Ed's form looked over his shoulder with an unamused stare.
I suspect that I am as tethered to the inner workings of that mad woman as you are. I had a bad feeling about her, but only in the interest of self-preservation. I didn't want Edward to be turned over to some dark power. Now, I have a sinking suspicion that something more than fate has led us here.
Turning to face the captain, Edward removed his goggles from his face, revealing that both eyes had the same fiery glow to them. His hair seemed to curl a little at the ends, darkening from a piercing silver to a smouldering, ashy grey. He gripped his weapon as he slung it from his shoulder.
If I'm not mistaken, Darian, you and I have some part to play in the story of Aracriel. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't like being sealed within a bedroom inside a water well. She has business untoward your companions. If it's all right with you, I'm going to find her, kill her, and release us from whatever forsaken path she has bound us to.
Barely a glimmer of Edward's demeanour was left in his posture. He held his rifle with a poise and determination that Darian had not seen. Waves of confusion and quiet rage swept over the captain, before finally he answered the devilish voice.
Fine. If we are bound to something darker than the wizard would have us believe, then I'll follow along. Don't think I won't hesitate to kill Ed if it means releasing him from your shackles. Don't test my patience.
The captain was met with a glower most foul and a sarcastic look of that same maniacal pleasure.
Don't fool yourself into thinking you could kill Ed in the first place. I have no plans to leave a host so abundant with potential. Perhaps you'd be better pointing your misplaced anger toward an enemy we can actually deal with.
Travels of the Ellis Arbor is made possible by the generous support of our subscribers, followers, and most notably, our patrons. Thanks to all our Moon, Wedge, Crown, and Hex tier patrons for supporting us so far on this journey. Please subscribe, give a like or a comment, follow us on Twitter, and stay tuned for the next episode. Make sure to follow us here on YouTube, on Spotify, and on twitch.tv/lonomy. Don't forget, take care of each other.